the point that matters here is they are trying to sell you that Russia disinformation is being used to get Donald Trump elected. And the only concrete example, and I do have to say, a concrete example proves to you that this is someone, if you were to listen to them, you probably wouldn't vote for Donald Trump. There are a few sort of threads to untangle here, but it's not that complicated. Donald Trump, of course, has nothing to do with any type of Russian entity. There is no foreign interference on behalf of Trump from Russia. But because of how desperate the left is, they're taking a story that is true and trying to tie it to Donald Trump, even though the real story proves the exact opposite of that. If you listen to the legacy media, Russia, they want Donald Trump to win.
Breaking news, the Biden administration taking a series of actions to target what they allege are attempts by Russian-backed actors to manipulate public opinion here in the U.S. ahead of the presidential election, according to two senior U.S. officials.
An internal planning document created by the Kremlin states that as a goal of the campaign is securing Russia's preferred outcome in the election.
Now, if this seems like a repeat, this is because you may not know this, but before you were no longer allowed to question results of an election because it was considered treason if you took a walking tour of the People's House. In 2016, because Hillary Clinton lost in one of the great, it was the Buster Douglas equivalency in politics. They said back then, their excuse was one and the same, Russia.
I want to start with this new report about Russian efforts to contact Hope Hicks. What do you make of this continued effort to permeate President Trump's inner circle?
Well, without getting the specifics of that allegation, we do know that the Russians throughout the campaign were making outreach for the campaign.
And a bombshell report by the New York Times that the FBI opened up a counterintelligence investigation into Mr. Trump in 2017.
Same FBI who said Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation.
Had been working with the Russians. He brought
this
people
guy bangs
on
a
his
Chinese
campaign
spy.
who had ties to the Russians.
This week we saw cold, hard evidence.
Still does.
Of the Trump campaign, indeed the Trump family, eagerly intending to collude possibly with Russia, a hostile foreign power, to influence American elections.
Okay. Just think about that for a second. You have an American representative, Eric Swalwell, who was actively banging a Chinese spy. By the way, a spy of a government who actively is supporting or trying to intercede on Biden's behalf. Now, Kamala, I get that he's been switched out. They've been doing it for a while now. That guy is telling you Russia is trying to get Donald Trump elected. Okay, let's go through the claims here. The claim back then was that Trump colluded with Russia to become elected. We've done segments on this, but let me just give you a recap. It was all based on the Steele dossier. That was complete bullcrap. References are available. There was really one main source, and I want to make sure I get the name correct. It was Russian national Igor Danchenko. And by the way, his information was used to make this report for Fusion GPS. Fusion GPS was retained by the Clinton campaign. So when you think of Russiagate, and the reason that nothing came up, the reason that it was basically proven beyond any reasonable doubt that Donald Trump did not collude with Russia is because the information that was given, it was basically funded by Hillary Clinton's campaign and it was proven to be BS. Okay, here's the claim that we are dealing with now. That Russia right now, again, because in 2016, we told you it was true, and we hope that you still believe it was true because you didn't follow the legal proceedings. Russia is in the bag for Trump again. Now Russia is actually really double supporting Donald Trump. Let me read you this from the New York Times, who, by the way, also had a nice recent article about how the Constitution is the greatest threat to our constitutional republic, that it's dangerous.
Jesus. Wait a minute.
So this is their reporting on the Russia indictment. American officials have been stepping up their warnings about Russian election influence reports. By that, they mean Democrats. American spy agencies have assessed that the Kremlin favors former President Donald J. Trump over Vice President Kamala Harris in the November contest, seeing him as more skeptical of U.S. support for Ukraine.
Oh, whatever.
The United States was caught flat-footed in 2016 as its spy agencies learned about Russian efforts to influence the vote on behalf of Mr. Trump and were late in warning the public. Let me just really quickly, let's just use the Socratic method. All right. So, of course, we know that they didn't. The Steele dossier, Fusion GPS, was bullcrap. Why would Russia intercede to try and get Donald Trump elected? Well, because they want him elected because they think that it's a weaker government that they could take advantage of. Okay. Why? Because obviously they were strong-armed by the Obama administration. They viewed a continuation of that with Hillary Clinton as a greater threat. Why? Well, then we end up with the answer. Hold on a second. Crimea. Russia invaded Crimea under Barack Obama. They had no fear of Barack Obama. The only time they didn't act up, you can call it coincidence, was under those years of Donald Trump. And then immediately when the extension of Obama, we had 8 years, 3 years because COVID is a lost year, and another couple, right away, Ukraine, Russia invaded Ukraine. So Crimea, before Barack Obama, under George W. Bush, you had Georgia, nothing, Ukraine. So Russia tried to intercede in that election, which we know is BS, but let's just use it so that they could do nothing and gain no new land for the first time, really, in modern American history, as far as recent decades.
Great Russian plan.
It doesn't really pass the sniff test, does it? But let's look at the next. That's their claim, but let's look at the truth here because this does matter. Okay, the Russians have been working with some influencers. So the media is going to try and claim that they're working with right-wing influencers to try and convince you to vote for Donald Trump because he's pro-Russia. All right, that's not true. The truth is Russia has been working with some influencers. Unfortunately, this is an uncomfortable truth, some of whom present themselves as right-wing, but they also are anti-Trump conservatives. So this is a new indictment that alleges the founders of Tenet Media worked with a Russian national, either Russian national individual, or we don't necessarily know if it's an agency at this point, to mask Tenet's real source of funding, which is Russia Today. Now, I've appeared on Russia Today, full disclosure, to, how should I say, bitch slap them. You can go back and watch me on Russia Today. When Russia Today, back in the day, people want to make you believe that Russia Today is pro-MAGA. No, I used to appear on Russia Today. I think you can go back to 2010, 2011, where they were pushing for gun control, where they were pushing for doing away with the First Amendment, where they were pushing for hands up, don't shoot. And you can actually search Stephen Crowder, Russia Today, Trayvon Martin, to see me in my early 20s going on there. So I always knew that they were not an unbiased media source. But these right-leaning people actually were receiving funding from Russia Today. Now, that may not matter if they disclosed it. They hid it. That part is true. The people who they paid didn't know about it, but the people brokering the deal, it seems, did. And that is, let me just, my opinion, you can comment below. I think we deserve better than that. I don't like Russia. I think Putin is a fascist prick. Mm-hmm. I also don't think that we need to be fighting wars that are none of our business. But I also don't want American influencers who claim to be on your side to be lying to their own creators about taking money from Russian oligarchs.
It's a lot of grifter.
Yeah. So the person in question here, Tenet Media, and all references are available at loudwithcrowder.com. Lauren Chen is the founder. She is referred to as founder one in the indictment. Let me read it to you. It says, Afanasieva Kalashnikov, I'm sorry, founder one and founder two worked together to mask U.S. company one's true source of funding, Russia Today, by falsely portraying the commentator one and commentator two, that U.S. company was sponsored by a private investor named Edwin Gregorian. In truth and in fact, Gregorian was a fictional persona. Now, that would seem like, and I know that people say this is disinformation from the media to try and discredit conservatives. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. But here's the thing. Lauren Chen did work for Russia Today previously, so it's not that far-fetched. You have that. And here's the kicker. So they want you to believe that Tenet Media, founded by Lauren Chen, who allegedly misrepresented the source of funding and perhaps created a fake alias in order to get funding from foreign nationals. By the way, an agency for whom she worked in the past, Russia Today. They want you to believe that all of this is being done because Russia wants Donald Trump to be elected. And here's where, please, get out of the tribalism mindset here. Here's the cold water. Lauren Chen, who obviously claims to be a conservative sometimes, has been consistently and remarkably, for a Russian plant, allegedly, anti-Trump.
Not just about abortion. It's not just about abortion. Okay, Trump has been going left on a lot of different issues, and here we have some bookmarks talking about that. Actually, Nick Fuentes had a great tweet about it. Trump 2024 campaign promises. Here, let's look at the bastion of conservatism. Veto federal abortion ban, mass legal immigration, right? People say like, oh, Kamala's going to let in everybody. So's Trump. But the thing with Trump is that you won't need to try to go in illegally because he's outright saying he wants to let in a lot of people.
Trust me, I am no fan of the 19th Amendment myself. I think it, more so than anything else, solidified in our consciousness the idea that the political process should be one person, one vote, which is not a good system. I don't believe in democracy.
Okay, let me read some other tweets from Lauren Chen that, again, I'm only bringing this up, full disclosure, Lauren Chen, who's been named in some of these articles, Tim Pool, who's been named in some of these articles, Dave Rubin, who's been named in some of these articles, I believe Lauren Southern, they've all been on this show at one point or another. I don't believe that any of the other creators who were given a deal or worked with Tenet Media, and as far as we know, they had no idea as to what was going on, only Lauren Chen did. I think that matters. I hope that those creators, there's some kind of restitution there. Let me give you some other tweets from Lauren Chen because the media wants you to believe that she is working on behalf of Russia to get Donald Trump elected. Here's some other tweets. Nope, I'm not a one-issue person. Trump is going weak on crime, immigration, abortion, plus still pandering to Zionists. There's plans to bring in Democrats to his cabinet. There are many issues people are complaining about. I supported Trump when he said he wanted to leave it as a state issue, that's fine. But saying you would go out of your way to veto an abortion ban, that you'd potentially use your executive power to overturn congressional legislation and the will of the people, no, I'm done. When RFK Jr. endorsed Donald Trump, she wrote, the uniparty is alive and well. Now, these opinions are one thing, and that's fine. And by the way, I agree with some of those opinions. The issue is bookending it with discouraging people from voting for Donald Trump. And again, the media trying to present this as though this person who is presented as right-wing is pro-Trump, when really this is evidence that the only person who we actually know of with direct ties to the Russian government has been pushing out defeatism and not voting for Donald Trump. That's the only reason I'm bringing it up. Also, to hopefully clarify the record that people like Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and others there, it seems like they knew nothing about this, and I wish them the best. Gerald, I believe you have some other.
Yeah, and a couple more, but they were actually listed in the indictment as people who were unwitting kind of people. They were kind of taken advantage of. So We're not just guessing that. It's actually in the indictment that they're not even making the claim that these commentators knew anything about it. But a couple of tweets from Chen that might, in light of this, might be very interesting here, right? So this is from 2017, the first one. As much as I would love to shill out to that level for the shekels, I couldn't get a sponsor for every video, even if I tried. Shilling out for shekels, obviously, would have been happening.
Reference to the Presbyterians.
But rubles, shilling out for rubles.
Yeah,
in this
Presbyterians.
Yes, Presbyterians. A next one here from actually from June of 2024. AIPAC is a lobbying organization that represents a foreign nation and funds or targets members of Congress based on their loyalty to said foreign nation. If you support that, just say it.
Yeah. And by the way, I also understand being critical of AIPAC.
No, this
but
is not
my point is
criticism.
she's saying that in the context of Donald Trump saying we support Israel. She's saying that in the context. And of course, someone who also, I don't know how that works with relationships with, at one point, The Blaze, I believe Nick Fuentes. I don't know exactly because it's a small industry. The point that matters here is they are trying to sell you that Russia disinformation is being used to get Donald Trump elected. And the only concrete example, and I do have to say, a concrete example proves to you that this is someone, if you were to listen to them, you probably wouldn't vote for Donald Trump. How does that work out? Hey, if you're still watching this, congratulations, it's been free this whole time. Consider hitting the notification bell or watching one of these videos for more like-minded content. I don't know when this is airing, when you're watching this. It could be in the future after Skynet has fallen. If it's 3 years from me filming, it's definitely fallen.